Happy Monday, YouTube. It's your girl Vanity. I hope you guys had a good weekend. I hope you guys stayed dry because on the East Coast, child, it rained all weekend, but it has cleared up a little bit. I'm excited about that, and we got to get into some stuff this morning. I want to talk to you guys about the beef that is brewing, and it might be a one-sided beef. Y'all tell me what you guys think, because if we know anything about Joe Budden, he is very nonchalant, or he appears to be. And I'm thinking that this might be something that Tasha K is the one who runs with, right? You know, she's so extra about stuff. But it's Tasha K and Joe Budden. Some of you may be wondering, where the hell did this beef come from? So let's go ahead. Let's talk about it. Let's dissect it, you guys. So, and I'm invested in this because I am a huge Joe Budden fan. I have been listening to his podcast probably since 2015-16. I want to say his podcast started around 2016 when it was just him, Rory, and what's old girl's name? The white girl with the red hair. I forgot her name. But I have literally watched his podcast from the inception. I'm familiar with it, all the key players when Rory and Mal left, which they are still my favorites. You know, I like his new cast as well. I like the addition of Melissa Ford. I like the addition of Queen's Flip, all of that. So I'm a big fan of his. I admire his hustle. He's a great MC, all of that. And so basically what happened, y'all, is Joe Budden apparently, which I was actually kind of surprised about this, he did an interview with Tasha K. I guess this interview took place maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. He mentioned it briefly that he did talk to her and did an interview that he was going to release. She's kind of been talking about it. Let me also preface this, you guys, let me say this. I'm not the biggest Tasha K fan, okay? Not that I dislike her or whatever. The thing that is disheartening about Tasha K is I just feel like she's not honest usually, right? And I'm very careful with how I talk about her. I don't want no Tasha K beef, but we have to keep it a buck. She's not honest, and I don't like her approach with things. You know, she'll steal on you and then like cry victim, and I don't like that. You know what I mean? I feel like she starts a lot of unnecessary trouble, and she inserts herself in places where she does not need to do that. And quite often, Tasha K makes things 20 times worse than they need to be. And I think that the other thing that's problematic about her is she acts and appears and pretends to be so hard, ride so hard for black women, but she really doesn't. She really, she's detrimental to black women. She talks badly about black women as well. But then when the situation is advantageous to her, or it's beneficial to her to jump in it, specifically as it deals with trans issues and things like that, you guys have your own opinion. This is not about trans anything. So don't even take it down this rabbit hole. I just wanted to give you guys an example of how she inserts herself in that kind of stuff. And then it's like about black women, but it's like you down black women too. You know what I'm saying? And you pretend that you don't. So, but again, I don't know her. She might be very lovely in real life. The most that we know is all the drama that she's had with Cardi B. So talking about the drama with Cardi B, we know about the $4 million lawsuit that she has with her. And I'm going to assume that is she is infamous because of that, right? And I'm going to assume that is why Joe Budden took it upon himself to decide to do an interview with her. He hasn't spoken about it as much. I didn't listen to his podcast this Saturday because I was spending time with my boo. And I was spending time with my friends in New York this weekend. So I didn't get a chance to listen to his podcast. So I don't know if he has addressed this yet. I will listen to it today. But however, she has addressed it, and she is... All right, my bad, y'all. My alarm went off. I didn't even know I set an alarm. But anyways, Tasha K's pissed. She's mad because, look, I'm going to assume that she has burned a lot of bridges in this industry. I'm going to assume that people are not jumping to interview her. And so we all know that Joe Budden's podcast is the biggest, most respected, probably longest running hip hop type podcast in the world. We're not going to count like DJ Vlad, who I believe was around before Joe Budden, because he's not a podcast. So when it comes to hip hop, and Cardi B is hip hop, when it comes to hip hop issues and things like that and discussions, no, there's no platform that's bigger than Joe Budden. So she indicated she was in New York. She was on some type of press run because I think she's doing like live shows, and she has one coming up in Miami next month. So she stopped by his podcast. She, according to her, the podcast was great. She read them for filth, all of these other things, whatever. That may or may not be true. I don't know. And she says when she left, y'all, that everybody is a wino now. Again, that may or may not be true. So, you know, she's kind of hyped it up, and it probably is a really good interview because regardless of how you feel about Tasha K, she is polarizing. She has a lot of energy. She yells too much for me, but that's a whole other subject. And you know, Joe Budden and his comrades, they're hilarious. They're going to bring the comedy, but they ask the tough questions. So I don't doubt that the interview it was a phenomenal interview. So fast forward to this past week. For whatever reason, we find out Joe Budden has decided not to drop the episode. I'm going to assume, again, I haven't heard him talk publicly about why, but we're going to assume that it has something to do with the fact that he has a relationship, an industry relationship with Cardi B. We know that Cardi B has been on his show before, early in her career when they kind of were both on Love and Hip Hop. You know, Joe was doing his podcast on Love and Hip Hop. Cardi B was also on Love and Hip Hop, and she did his podcast early on, right? This was well over 5 years ago when before she even really popped, maybe right around the time she popped. And so I'm going to imagine, you know, through the years, Joe has talked about Cardi B, you know, in a good light, and I'm going to imagine that they probably have developed a good relationship. Word on the street is that she made a call once she found out about the interview and put a stop to it, okay? So now the interview is no longer going to drop, which I'm kind of disappointed because I'm just nosy. I want to hear it because I'm sure, like I said, it's probably a really good interview. However, Tasha K is pissed. So she did, and I'm not going to air it because Tasha K cusses way too much. So I am absolutely not going to. You go look for yourself. Go Google Tasha K and Joe Budden. It will come up. It's like 20, 30, 40 minutes of her going in on Joe and, you know, all the things, right? She's mad. And she is accusing him of everything from being the P word. Use your imagination. It's a 5-letter word. You know, he's industry, he's a punk, he's this, you know, I didn't even air your dirty laundry when you were accused of all the different things we know that Joe Budden has been accused of, right? So she's mad and she's putting up a fuss, and, you know, now she's gone on No Jumpers, you know, podcast, airing her grievances on how she is no longer going to support, you know, black outlets. She's not going to take being a black person into account when she picks and chooses where she goes to talk. However, nobody's really checking for talking to Tasha K anyway. So, you know, or maybe they are. She says everybody wants to talk to her. So I'm not going to call her a liar. I don't know if I necessarily believe it, but we'll take what she says at face value. My question is, what do you guys feel about Joe's position? Is he wrong? Is he right? And I have a couple of theories here. I will say this. I think that what Joe should have done, because he's very bright. I know that he had to have known that Cardi B wasn't going to be elated about the fact that you are giving this woman who has been a proven liar. She owes, you know, we see the despicable way that Tasha K carries herself in the media. This woman continues to antagonize Cardi B. You know, she taunts her. She's been very, very vocal about the fact that she ain't got the $4 million, which she probably doesn't, because I certainly don't have $4 million in general, let alone for a lawsuit. But I'm also not, you know, online straight out lying about people and the different types of diseases that they have and refusing to take videos down. I'm not going to digress in that direction. You know, we all know what happened. But yeah, you know, Cardi is not happy about that. And she's like, look, why are you giving someone who is so disgusting a platform when we already know what time it is? And we know that Tasha K thrives in this type of stuff. She cannot wait, to bash Cardi B on Joe Budden's podcast. Like, she was super, super excited to air out everything that she wanted to say, and do it in a way where it could be controversial because she goes back and forth and spars with Joe Budden about certain topics, because we know Joe, I'm certain, called her out on things. Melissa probably did as well, and she wanted that to be her stage for the world to see. And now he's ripped that rug from up under her, and she's not going to have that opportunity to do that. So she's upset. But again, in my opinion, I feel like, Joe, you knew, again, Cardi was going to feel a way about this. Why didn't you reach out to her first? I mean, obviously, had you done that, the interview would have never taken place. But then you probably would have saved resources and time, and you could have been doing something else, because from what Tasha K says, the interview was 3 hours. So he should have reached out to Cardi B first. Why didn't you do that? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's my first thing with Joe Budden. Secondly, some people are debating like, well, shit, you didn't reach out to her. You might as well just drop the interview. And because I selfishly want to hear the interview, obviously, I want to hear it. So yeah, let's drop it. But if she made a call to you and you have a relationship with her and you don't have one with Tasha K, I'm not necessarily mad at him for not releasing the interview, because why sever that relationship with someone who, you seemingly have developed, some type of rapport with her. And let's be honest, these industry relationships are you scratch my back, I scratch yours. If you are looking to continue to grow, Joe Budden, obviously you're more likely to do so, under the guise of working with Cardi B and being amicable with her, versus Tasha K, who is like, you know what I'm saying? Like, her credibility is shot. Regardless of, the fact that Tasha K is very entertaining, we enjoy her. To a certain extent, I don't follow her, and, there are certain things that I do watch from her. Again, she's so loud. Like, I don't know, she's always yelling and screaming, like, all the time. That's, I mean, some of y'all probably like that. That's, I think, what annoys me most about her, outside of everything else. Like, Tasha K, she's always screaming for no reason. I'm like, why are you screaming, girl? But anyway, I could see why he would not want to sever his relationship with Cardi on account of like a good interview, when he's had tons of great interviews. And and the thing that's amazing about the Joe Budden podcast, for me, I actually prefer when he doesn't do interviews. I think that he's one of the, unlike like Drink Champs, where they have to have guests like that, they have to have guests. Joe Budden, actually, his podcast, they're so dynamic, and the way that they approach topics is so hilarious, and they have so many different viewpoints. It works for them. They don't need to have interviews. They actually do much better when they don't. Because sometimes I don't be liking how they be acting. They be switching up a little bit when certain guests come up there. However, it's all about your preference, but he doesn't need that interview. You know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't need that interview. His podcast is going to continue to be successful and grow in ways that Tasha K could never imagine, with or without that interview. She's the one that needs it. I agree. I just think that when people do despicable things, should they be rewarded with a platform to, like, just rant and rave? Because we already know what that interview probably is about. And some will say, like, freedom of speech. She does. She has the right to say what she wants. But I believe in freedom of speech within reason. I believe in freedom of speech when it's not hurting someone else. You know what I'm saying? And that opens up a whole floodgate of other topics. Use your imagination on what that is. That could be with racism or sexism or whatever. Like, freedom of speech with limitations. And that Tasha K doesn't understand that. A lot of people don't understand that. This is not, specific to her. But, I just would have wished that Joe would have handled it in a different way. And I'm sure maybe he's reflecting on that now. I really hope that we get some commentary from him on this. Hindsight is 2020. you know, it would have been better had he not done the interview in the first place and reached out to Cardi B first. However, he didn't. So now we're here. Now, Joe, you know that this woman now is going to have, like, she's going to be out for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, because another thing about Tasha K, and I hate this for her, it's like, just because people don't do what you want to do, doesn't mean that you in turn trash them and down them. And you know what I'm saying? Like, it just, him not doing the interview is not a reason for you to have gone online and talked about that man like that. Why did you do that? You know what I'm saying? It just wasn't necessary. And I feel like with Tasha K, when you don't get what you want, that you choose like violence. You know what I'm saying? It's like, ma'am, just because he's not dropping an interview, he deserved all of that? You know, he was kind enough to consider it. He has every right to change his mind. You said yourself, Tasha K, that you have done interviews and you haven't put them out. So really, what's the difference? So I just feel like there's so much learning that needs to be done from both sides. And Tasha K, you just got to do better. I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, I really want to like you. I do respect your hustle, and I do respect that you work hard and you've been at this for a while. I do respect that. I just don't like your approach. And that's fine. Everybody's not for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not down with being just disrespectful for no reason. Or, you know, just like, why? Like, a lot of things that you do, I'm like, why? And then Joe Budden, you know, I love Joe Budden. I stand for Joe Budden and his podcast. I do. I'm invested. But, you know, he could have handled this better. And I'm sure he would say that. So anyway, y'all let me know what you guys think. Thank you for, you know, listening to my commentary. Drop down in my comments. Let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with me? Do you guys want to see the interview? I wonder, I doubt, well, especially with her, with what she just did. She probably sealed that. He's probably never going to drop it. So that's unfortunate. But anyways, I hope you guys have a good day. Please remember, like, subscribe, and share. And I'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.